Were you promised something by your builder but you were given something completely different? Did you spend your entire life savings on your dream home but the builder refuses to give possession? Well, we are here to help. On our Smart Advice segment today, our experts will tell you how to extract yourself out of disputes like these, and we'll also give you a legal checklist for your fight for your home.
Thanks so much for joining us on Smart Advice. This is a space where we get all your key concerns resolved when it comes to buying or selling or investing in property. Every week, we bring you unique questions from the viewers, typical of the problems we may encounter when buying or selling property. All of it is covered on this special series. So today's focus: what do you do in case the developer cancels your allotment, promising you something better which does not materialize? Does that sound familiar? Well, it does to me, at least in the questions that I've been getting. Let me introduce you to the panelists today: Samarjeet Singh, MD India Home, and from our Mumbai studio, Amit Mehta, Advocate High Court, MS Solicitors Lex. Samarjeet, thank you very much for being here to take all the questions, tricky ones, and I hope we can give our viewers some unique solutions. Amit, thanks so much for joining us as well. Okay, I believe our first caller is waiting, Manika Raikwar. Hi, Manika, go ahead with your question.
Hi, Manisha. I actually wanted to discuss the details of my mother's flat. She booked a flat in this project called Pan Oasis. This is located in Sector 70, Noida, and it's promoted by Patil Group, Amrapali and Nirala. She booked a 10th floor flat, it's 1003, on 27th of March. This is 2010. And on the same day, she made a payment of 6 lakhs, and a month later, she paid another 7 lakhs. And in June 2010, she made a payment of 30 lakhs. By September 2010, she had made the entire payment for flat Q1003. And while she was making the payment, she kept thinking of a 12th floor flat would be more interesting because it had more space. And she was told that she would have to pay extra for 300 feet of space that she was going to get at 200 per feet. So she said, give me a 12th floor flat, and was given the flat number 1203 in the same Q block in June 2013. And she was told that she will have to pay an extra of 4.65 lakhs for the extra 300 feet space. They then later raised this cost to rupees 300 per feet and also demanded PLC charges, which meant that eventually she would have to shell out 7 lakhs extra. And out of which she's already made a payment of 4.65 lakhs. Then, after all this, she was also informed that the money she has paid for the extra 300 square feet terrace will not be in her name, but is actually a shared space where they will also have the firefighting equipment for the building. She was pretty shocked because she had not been told of all this before she made the payment. Okay. And at this point, she really opted out and said, I don't want this flat if that piece that I'm paying extra for is not going to be in my name, and you're going to use it as a common area. And then she said, I want my 10th floor flat back. But she was told that your original flat has already been sold to somebody else.
All right, Manika, so we got this. So right now, what is the situation? She has her original flat or the new flat?
No, so the original flat has been totally given away. We just got the new flat, which we don't want because...
Okay, so because it doesn't give you, it's charging you for a terrace. How do things like this happen? I mean, you're charged, you're promised, and then you're told that this is not even a terrace that you're going to get. Can you be charged for something which is common area?
So, Manisha, there are lots of grays. You'll find that a lot of times you get charged for parking spaces that are paid for unofficially because developers don't have the right to sell parking spaces. There is the same problem with terraces, balconies. So these problems are quite prevalent. But there are a couple of things that could have been done before that could have safeguarded the situation and we wouldn't have come to this state. So the first thing was that all communication should have been in writing, and there should have been none of these verbal visits where there were discussions done that were just based on what the developer had to offer. And all of this should have actually been in writing, either through letters or email. And by that very act, you would have found that they would only been able to say things that they could back up. So for example, trying to sell you a terrace, which actually is meant for fire equipment, is something that one can say verbally, but it is almost impossible for them to put in writing. So a lot of these other false promises on what the amount will be, and then the amount keeps changing after that, a lot of that would have changed very, over time had it been in writing. Second of all, the approach that was taken of directly working with the developer as opposed to working through either an advisory company or a brokerage company, all of that would have become much easier because she would have had someone else on her side. Now, with developers, what happens is that single buyers often don't have enough power or leverage with the developer to be able to come and recommend what the changes they want or things they want, and they don't get anyone on their side to give them the right advice. So in this case, had the documentation and the interaction been in writing, had there been a brokerage company or a professional advisor involved in the middle who could have helped her in this case, then the matter would have ended up differently. The last point I wanted to make for this was that it's very important not to get emotional or get outraged in these kind of circumstances, even though buying property is a very emotional matter. I think it's very important to look at the merit of the matter and actually be very clear and lucid and not actually make offers like I will return the flat or I will return, this flat, I don't want this flat and things like that, because very often developers take advantage of these kind of situations because they know that the customer is stuck. So if one had taken all three of these precautions, I think the outcome would have been very different from what we have found now, where there is a fait accompli in many ways, where there's a requirement now to pay, and when so much money is gone, I think one gets stuck and one has to pay the balance and take possession because the previous flat is now not available anyway. So while it is grossly unfair, but there are a lot of precautions that could have been taken that could have avoided this particular outcome.